Thank you, and welcome to my talk. Let me quickly share my screen. To my talk about FME-based data processing services. I will go through, well, first of all, more the product, an introduction to FME Server possibilities in terms of data processing services, of course. And then I will go into some examples that we have done in the past using data processing services and FME technology combined, and rolled out some kind of products. I want to show you demonstrations and these products for you to get a better understanding of what I was talking about. So first of all, sorry, yes. Who am I? My name is Marcel Sprotte. I'm a geographer that works at Conterra since 2012. I started working in the GIS industry like 12, 13 years ago. I started working in big data migration projects and have been using FME technology more or less ever since. So I'm fairly experienced, I would say, in FME. I'm working in the team project services. We are mainly consulting bigger projects, and I'm doing some FME training in terms of desktop and server. So for those of you who don't know Conterra, we are a geo-solution provider. That's what it's called, actually. We are based in Münster, actually very close to 52 North. I can actually see Mathis right opposite. We have a deep partnership as well, so that's where this is coming from. What we are doing is we are providing solutions for customers mostly based on S3 products, not only, but mostly. And we have this special section, going back to the division of data integration, which is basically all the FME work that is done within Conterra. And we are basically supporting most of the big projects that have been worked on in Conterra. A very, very brief introduction to Conterra, founded in 1993. And you can see 2004, the foundation of 52 North is also a remarkable moment for Conterra as well. FME-wise, we started partnering with Safe Software. I will introduce Safe Software as well afterwards, the actual owner of FME, in 1999. And well, it's 2019, but yeah, until today we have about 160 plus employees. It's always a little bit moving, but about 160 plus. Most of them basically here in Münster. Just very few we have located to Berlin and to Cologne. Yeah, and this is basically just the divisions we have within Conterra and the tasks we are trying to fulfill. It's basically about integration. We have telecommunication projects. SDI government, of course, is a big part of it. Nature and environment insurances. And as a last, and basically that's where I'm situated, is data integration. Yeah, well, that's basically it for very brief introduction for Conterra. Yeah, so let's basically go to go to FME. Sorry for the German, I forgot to translate this one. It's FME it's a very simple solution for complex data integration. What it means is that you are able with one software to access more than 450 different data sources. You can combine them geometrically, spatially, logically, and you can transform them into basically whatever you want, and you can choose your destination format, again, out of more than 450 data formats. So this big independence on the structure and on the data source, what makes FME so powerful. Once you have read the data into your FME workspace, I will show you one later on. That's basically the file that you are creating when you're doing a process. You can do a lot of things with the data. You can recalculate things. You can you can do geometric operations. You can change the content. You can add content. You can gain information, whatever. And to do so, you don't have to code, but you use about more than 500 transformers. They're called transformers. I will show you one transformer later on. And you really do a visual combination of tasks. Yeah, so you're not coding, but you do a visual with your mouse. Very easy. I will show you later on. Yeah, this picture should show you basically what data types you can use with FME. So we have the traditional GIS data type. Very interesting, and one of the big use cases of FME is still to this day is GIS to CAD or CAD to GIS. You can use both. XML, you have databases, cloud services from all kind, point clouds, and very important and getting bigger and bigger is the non-spatial part, where you don't really have to have the spatial component in your data. You see here an Excel file, for example, or a PDF file, where you do not really contain geometrical data. But you also have, of course, the big players like PostGIS, S3, Oracle, SQL Server, you know, these kind of things. Everything is approachable with FME. So that's what makes it really powerful. You know, it's Safe Software itself stated it's a Swiss Army knife of ETL software. So that's basically, I think, a pretty good description of that. Talking about Safe Software, that's basically the owner of the product FME. They are based in Canada, again founded in 1993 by Don Murray and Dale Lutz. They are mainly focusing on development. You basically have three products. You have FME Desktop, which we will talk about now. You have FME Server, which we will talk about now as well, or maybe a little bit later. And you have FME Cloud, which we do not really talk about. I will just explain slightly what's the difference from FME Cloud to FME Servers to you. They are not doing too much professional services at all anymore. Therefore, they have a worldwide partner network where we are part of it. We're actually the biggest partner. Very happy about that. And we basically do the professional services for Safe Software. In case of questions we cannot answer, we contact Safe Software, of course, to get answers. And yeah, that's basically the way we are working together. Yeah, as I mentioned before, we have a very close partnership since 1998, so it's more than 20 years now. We're the European Service Center for FME, and we also have like specials. So you can have a German version of FME from us, or if you want to, you can also have the Spanish one, whatever you like. The MapAppsETL extension, I will go to this later when we go to the examples and various plugins, etc. Yeah, what's the core functionalities of FME? Again, it's a format conversion. So you can basically, you read in one data format and you write out another one, right? So, and that is possible with more than 450 different formats. The reason why Safe is able to read so many different formats and write to so many different formats is fairly easy if you think about, because basically, let me go quickly back to this. So what FME is doing when it's reading data, it's immediately converting data to an internal format called FFS, FME Feature Storage. And everything you do in between reading and writing, all the transformation, coordinate transformation, whatever attribute work you want to do, or geometric work you want to do, is done within this FFS format. So instead of using 450 formats to make them able to be transformed into 450 other formats, you would have to have 450 times 450 algorithms, right? With that own format kind of in the middle of the process, FME only uses two algorithms per format. So it's 450 formats by 2, because you have to know how to convert, well, let's say shape as the easiest example, shape to FFS and FFS to shape. So everything in between, what you will do with transformers, I will show you that, is basically the same, whatever the source of the data is. So that makes it also very powerful. Of course, you have special functionalities in certain formats that you have to use in some kind of special way. But I would say the most of the information you gain out of a data set, once you have it in FME, it doesn't really matter where it's coming from. The handling is exactly the same. So what else you have? You have the manipulation of the data model. So changing attribute names, adding new attributes, deleting attributes, renaming, whatever you like. You can add information. You can do some calculation on attributes, or some sorting or some measuring, and you can add that to the data. That's also no problem. For sure, you can do geometric transformations. That could mean that you merge features from various data types through geometric or spatial analysis. You can also just calculate the middle point of a polygon, or make a polygon out of lines, of closed lines, of course, all this kind of stuff. And at the end of the day, one very big topic of FME is migrating data. So if you or your company, has quite a tradition of getting data, after a few years, you normally recognize, oh, I have plenty of data sources. You have plenty of different data types in your company, in your division, whatever. And then you think about a new database that should contain all the information, and that's where FME is coming into the game, because basically you can most of the time read all the data you have in your company. You can transform it. You can, by renaming and changing the data model, you can basically bring it all together, and then you migrate it into your new database, and you have a nice and plain data structure in your office or in your division. So that is basically like what the idea behind the technology of FME is. We are now going to the FME Desktop application, or basically a part of the desktop application, which is FME Workbench. That is basically the main component within the FME Desktop installation. And I will show you how that works. And after that, we go to FME Server, which is basically the idea of bringing all the desktop possibilities, at least to your, well, let's say to your network. And this network could be the internet. So basically to everybody, if you like. So what is that? Oh, there you go. So yeah, FME Workbench. For those of you who haven't seen FME Workbench, there is a small picture that shows FME Workbench. It's the main component of the FME Desktop installation. It basically is containing quite some more than this. I will go to this later. But this is the main application. And for most of the people that know FME, kind of, that is FME Desktop, right? So that's why we put our effort right here. What is FME? It's a point-and-click graphic interface, basically. That is what it is. You do not need to code to basically transform data from one point to the other. You can pretty much visual work yourself through all the data, through all the different steps. You can visualize data at every step of your process if you want to check whether whatever you created with transformers is working the way you want to have it. Yeah, you can do the schema mapping, which is basically the data modeling part. Schema mapping is the FME kind of wording for it. All the kind of geometric operations, quality assurance, data consistency, etc. Basically, quality assurance is well, the range to quality assurance is super wide. You can do it from, well, let's just check the naming of attributes or whatever, to, you know, logical tests. If that's the case, then something else has to happen. So that is it's a big word, and you can do whatever you like. But what we normally see especially in migration processes, if you create your FME workspace, one of the big plus of using FMEs is that you can reuse your workspace, maybe a month later, maybe a week later, maybe even years later. And with that kind of automation you have, you immediately get some kind of quality assurance, because if your source data changes in structure or whatever, your process will fail. Even if one attribute is maybe wrong, or, you know, I don't know, if it should be points and there's one line, somehow there's one line within that data, you will see that. You will see that in your process. So normally quality assurance is kind of a nice add-on that you get, at least a certain amount of quality assurance. Yeah, well, that's basically a screenshot of an FME workspace. I will show you one live later to get you to see a little bit more. But let's do some naming conventions right here, because we have on the left side we have all the source data. We have two different source data in this case. It's a CSV data and AutoCAD. So that's basically the input. Then we have all the transformers. Those are the transformers, the blue ones. We have the data modeling. It's a filtering, it's a geometry validation, it's a merging, you know, all these kind of processings. And at the end of the day, you have your output. So you're writing down all of the data that's inside your process, if you want to, right? So I think that's a good point to basically, to basically kind of go live and check out my process that I prepared. That's basically, and it's a very easy process. I want to show you what I have done right here. So I can move things around a bit, and then you see a little bit more. So basically what we have as a source data is a CSV file. That's a very easy CSV file. You see all the attributes inside the CSV file. So you basically have an ID, kind of feature ID. You have a line ID, and you have XYZ coordinates of that points basically, and a key to basically join things later to different stuff. So when reading this CSV in all the time, FME recognizes, oh, we have X and Y and Z, these kind of coordinate column names. FME is basically offering you to immediately read those in as points. So even though that's a plain CSV file, the data is read in as points pretty much immediately. Let's have a quick look. That is basically the CSV data. So it's, you know, very easy data. There's no Z value involved, as you can see here, but we have XY data and these keys. So pretty easy. What happens next? Because we have this line ID, we still have points, but we have this line ID. So what's next is basically this transformer called the point connector is basically connecting all the points with the same line ID to one line. So basically from here to here, you get plain CSV, you get points out of here and immediately make lines out of it. Once you have done this, you basically join all the data on a logic base to an Excel file. You basically just read in the Excel and yeah, just say which attribute is basically the logic attribute. Because I don't have Excel on this machine, I'm sorry for that. I basically made a screenshot of the Excel data. So please excuse a screenshot, but this shows you the data that's in. So basically we have street, the count, and the key attribute, yeah, and various other information in that Excel file. So once this is joined on this attribute, we basically aggregate all the streets that now have gained more information. So we have streets, we have gained more information from the Excel data, and it's now aggregated on the street names so that you click on one street, you basically get the whole street instead of segments. And you do some attribute renaming in the end. So basically you have attributes like DB Straße, which is street, and you make transform it into street name. Same here. So fairly easy. And at the end of the day, you basically write a shapefile that's basically containing all the information. So let's do this as a quick work through. So basically what I'm using now, and this is only for demonstration purposes or for development purposes, I'm having selected a so-called caching mode. So at every stage of the transformation, all the data is cached. So that's why it took, well, 16 seconds, which is not super long, but still, as is, it's not happening too much. It's quite some time. But we have cached information at every transformer. Okay. The reason why I did this is because we can check out now the cache at every stage of the transformation. So let's have a quick look at the CSV data. We have a visual preview right here, and you see immediately its points. We don't get to see plain CSV because those attributes are recognized as X and Y data, and I, as a user, basically confirmed that it's X and Y data. So after that, we go to the point connector and try to make lines, and you see that is happening as well. Then we join more information. So basically the geometry stays the same, but what we do have here is basically we have more information on each street geometry. So we joined spatial to non-spatial data. We made an aggregate. So let's just go in and find out. You see, now it's the whole street is selected. By doing so, we have a renaming at the end of the day. And let me just show you a quick. So you see the streets shapefile that I did just now. So basically, that's a pretty brief and fairly quick introduction to FME Workbench. I want to show you one more thing, basically the point and click component of FME. So let me just get this straight. As you can see, I'm just basically connecting via mouse click to a transformer, and then I can move this around, you know, to whatever place I want to have. And you really just need to get the transformer, and you really connect by point and clicking, right? So I want to have the CSV data going into the point connector, so I really just go into the output and go to the input, and same here, I want to have the lines going into the joiner. I just go here and I just connect it. So no coding needed at this point. The coding is all inside of those transformers. You can still apply, let's say, a Python code or SQL coding or statements. No problem. You have transformers that are able to do so, but you don't need to. You don't need to code. And as we're talking about censoring data, of course, this joining to Excel does not have to be Excel. This could be a web address, right? Where you basically get some information out of the web, for example. And in that case, you don't basically type in, well, the storage place on your machine, but your web address. And then it's basically exactly the same. And the moment you read in all the data, it's for sure exactly the same. Because at this point, if the information is coming from the Excel or from a web service, doesn't matter in terms of FME. Okay, so reading in censoring data is basically really just you add data and you basically just, yeah, you use whatever you want to have, and you just type in your web address and just get the data. This could be, again, this could be a website, it could be a service, doesn't matter. Okay, that was a very brief introduction to FME Server, sorry, FME Desktop. I hope no questions at this point. If you have questions, please just let me somehow know. I'm sorry, I'm always losing the conversation. I hope I haven't missed anything yet. In case you have any questions, please just let me know. I'm happy to at least try to answer your questions. Okay, let's make a quick turn to well, different FME editions. We have basically three main editions. It's a professional, the S3, and the database edition. The functionality basically is the same throughout all the edition. It's a licensing level. It's basically the same. What differs is the possibility to read and write data formats. Basically, like if you have to have S3 components, like Arc SDE or FileView database with Arc objects, all the time you need Arc objects. You basically will need an FME S3 edition to read that or to write that data. And the database edition is mainly for SQL Server, Oracle Server, you know, and the spatial components of those, you know, that's basically mainly it. But the set of transformers, more than 500, basically the same in every edition. So that really doesn't matter. It's more the formats that you can well, communicate with. Yeah, well, you have single-use licenses, you have network licenses or floating licenses. If you have floating licenses, a nice thing, especially in times of Corona, it's basically you can borrow license. You can borrow a license. So that's why I wanted to have this information spread out. Yeah, that would basically be it for FME Desktop. Again, please, if you have any questions, any remarks, let me know. as well, if that's not the case, I will go to FME Server. What is FME Server? Basically, that's the most important question at this point. It's basically the opportunity for you to bring your FME Desktop possibilities into, again, your network, right? And your network could be your working network, it could be an intranet, it could be the internet, so basically to everybody, whatever you like. You have automations, which are very cool, where you basically react to something, right? The most famous example is basically the directory watching. So you basically set up an automation in FME Server that is basically looking into a folder in your network, and if something happens in your folder, it could be a delete, a modification, or a new file inside this folder. Something happens. Normally, it's an FME process, taking the data and doing something with it. Maybe some quality assurance, or well, maybe just a coordinate transformation. I don't know. You can fairly easy do some data distribution. I will show you an example for this as well, where you basically give people the opportunity, or users the opportunity, to select certain data, certain types of data maybe via some menus, or even with maps. So you can just draw a rectangle if you like, and people get data from this angle, or from well, whatever you whatever the user used or tried to get. Yeah. So and automatically, so you don't get a call, please give me some data from this and this. You can do this with FME Server. The user will do it on its own. Very, very, very nice. Same with data upload. You can also give users the opportunity to upload their own data, maybe to run against quality assurance processes, and whether that's okay or not, you can even write it directly without any manual interaction into your database, for example, right? And once you have kind of figured everything out, for basically everything you can do with FME Server, you can integrate that into your own application, right? I will show you some examples later on. Yeah, so publishing a workspace, that is basically the way to get a process on the FME Server. The only tool at this point to create an FME process that can be run on FME Server is FME Workbench, so the FME Desktop application. Okay, so there is the server is really just the running tool at this point. So you connect to FME Server. You do that via a web connection. So again, you have some kind of data within your network. If you have to, or if you want to, you can upload data immediately, like source data, for example. And you're choosing what's called a service. In FME Server terms, a service is basically it's basically an offer to basically proceed your destination data slightly different from what you have done in FME Workbench and FME Desktop. For example, in terms of data distribution, if you want to have your users or give your users the opportunity to download data they need, if you use the data download service, the destination data, or the output of your process, will not be written to the location you set, but it will be written to a temporary storage, and the user that has started the workspace will get an URL where you can download the data from. right? So it helps you doing that. You don't have to figure out yourself how to make that on your own, but it's helping you to do so. And last but not least, of course, you need to run the process on the FME server. That's just it's a wizard guided process. I just have some screenshots here. So you connect via your web connection with your FME server. You're trying to find a repository. A repository is basically a folder, kind of folder structure on FME server where you can publish your workspace to. So you find the correct repository, or you created your own, or you create a new one. You name your workspace. And if you want to, at this point, you can upload data. And the next thing is already the selection of services. There you see the services data download service. That's basically what I meant, where you get the download URL to basically download the data. So the big advance of this service is that the user is not getting access to your file system in any kind of way, right? The data streaming, it's basically not like a real streaming, but if possible, for example, if you write a PDF, if possible, this service will basically give a push to the main software of this format. So in terms of PDF, instead of just writing a PDF and telling you where it's saved, it will basically start opening Adobe Acrobat Reader and then display your file. The job submitter service is basically what's as close as your desktop configuration as it could be on FME server. The other ones, I think nowadays, or for now, not really important. And so basically that's it. You see the next button here is publish. So if you click that, you are basically have your workspace on FME server. It's very easy and yeah, not complicated at all. So running your process on FME server now is it's quite a different story. You can basically run it manually. You can run it event-based. That's basically what I just meant by, for example, watching a directory. If something happens in that directory, a process is started. You know, this could be also some emailing, or something happens on some, I don't know, web services, these kind of things. You can do it via REST. Everything basically in FME is kind of REST communication. So you can basically, you have a REST API anyhow, and you can basically do everything you see here via this REST API as well. You can do it, run a process via scheduling. So like, I don't know, every Tuesday or every weekend on Saturday morning, you want to have some, I don't know, data saving, or, you know, this kind of stuff. You can do it even from desktop, from FME Workbench. You can do it via a transformer. So you can connect via a transformer to FME server and start a workspace right there. There is something called FME Server app. I will go to this a little bit later. And of course, you can run your process with or by other apps, right? Part of what I will show you later on in the examples I have for you. Well, the result on FME server, that's also pretty nice and decent functionality. You can have it synchronous, you can have it asynchronous, or you can have it processed on the fly. Asynchronous will be that you normally get, you try to configure to send out emails with an attachment of the processed data. Or you basically get your data delivered more or less directly with the, as you can see here, with the download link that you just use to get your data. But sometimes, you know, the processing times is too long to make it synchronously, so you can make it asynchronously. So that's also fairly nice. Well, security also pretty important. Well, it's basically it's a user-centered, even though it's a role-based security program in FME Server. So basically, if you create something, it's your own. Whether it's a repository, a workspace that you publish, whatever it is, you basically own it, right? You have full control over it, and you can always share it with other users or even roles. So fairly easy to basically make your workspace or your repository available to a lot of people or a group of people. Since a few years, it's also very easy to get roles from Active Directory or just single persons from Active Directory. And you can very, well, easy is wrong, I have to admit it's a wrong word, but you can also do some HTTPS things on your FME server so that it's, you know, more safe to get it from the outside. Roles and actors, this is kind of, please keep in mind, this is kind of the ideal process of people working with FME server. Reality is normally slightly different, but let's go now with the kind of best case scenario where you have the author that is basically creating FME workspaces, which is normally the specialist in FME. You have the administrator that is basically managing the FME server, managing the scheduling, the security, you know, these kind of things. Then you have the user that is basically does not even have to know that FME exists. That's also, I think, pretty nice in FME server. You can use more or less complete functionality of the pretty powerful FME, but you don't even have to know it exists. You know, it's basically a web interface that you are using. It's just the same, I don't know, difficulty level as if you send an email with attachment from the web, you know, so pretty easy. So the user is consuming data or services, and the developer is basically someone that is using all the capabilities of FME server's REST API to bring functionality into your own intro web, into your own application, you know, these kind of things. So pretty much non-FME part, but kind of for your company. Automations, it's a fairly new feature. It's like 2 years old, 1.5, 2 years old in FME server. It's very nice because beforehand you could kind of do the same, but it was pretty difficult to create a chain of events, let's say. And now it's pretty easy. It's again, it's visually, it looks a little bit like FME Workbench. But just with events, you know, what you can see here is the directory watch. What I just meant, you have your folder that is watched. At the end, if something happens, in this case, it's a very easy automation. It sends out an email. At the same time, it starts a workspace, right? And if you want to, if this workspace is going on, is running into a mistake, you can send out an email to the administrator saying, "Oh, something went wrong, please have a look." You can start a schedule, all these kind of stuff. It's pretty easy that you just, you know, bring it together. Very easy. You can also react to system events. So like if I don't know, 100 processes have been run, please do whatever, do some cleaning, or, you know, pretty good. We can have a quick look on FME server live kind of later on. Well, pretty much in a few minutes. Oops, sorry, that was the wrong slide. Yeah, well, now we're going kind of into the real world. Possibilities to integrate FME server in web apps. So we have FME Server as kind of the central application, and you have your web application. And you can do this via direct URL or via REST. And that is basically, the way to proceed. You develop your process in FME Desktop, and you make it available via FME Server for your web application. So that's why FME Server and FME Desktop really kind of go along fairly close. FME Server without FME Desktop is not really useful. But the other way around, if you have your desktop and you have desktop knowledge, FME Server brings you on pretty much another level of possibilities. One last slide, on a kind of product slide, FME Desktop, FME Server, FME Cloud, I told you, those are the three products. The difference between FME Server and FME Cloud, well, it's small, but you know, in very, very short. It's basically an FME Server kind of application that is just placed in the cloud, with the advantages that you probably know, like if you need more power to run things, you can get it on a pretty much short notice, these kind of things. Yeah, well, that's basically the main benefit of this, even though FME Server is trying to, you know, to find a way to be more flexible license-wise. But anyhow. So let me have a quick look in FME Server. So that is basically, I hope you can see this. I need to redo this. Okay. So what we see here is basically the FME Server web interface, that it's, well, part of the installation process that you get this. You have all the magic kind of is happening right here. You have your run workspace, the automations, the scheduling, a job list, basically, and server apps. This is basically, I will go quickly through this to give you an idea on what is happening right here. So run workspace, basically the most common way to use a process right here. And you basically need to select your repository. I go for samples, which is basically part of the installation. You need to select your workspace within that repository. So let's go for Austin download. You see the service. If you have more than one service selected while publishing, you have two opportunities. I will go for the data download service to show you. Well, depending on the workspace you created, you can give the user quite some possibilities to change the data that has been downloaded, or, you know, to select data. I can go here and select more data sources. I can change the output format, you know, to whatever. I stay with shape. You can go and change the coordinate system, and those are just examples, right? Just examples on what's possible. And at the end of the day, you go to run, click on run, and now it's running, and it will take hopefully not very long. And first of all, you get your translation successful message, which is always good. The other one is translation failed. Oh, of course, not that good. So you get your data download URL. Let's have a quick look. You download the zip folder. And you have your shapefiles that you just kind of ordered running this process. So I think pretty cool, fairly easy to run this. So automations, pretty easy. I told you, you always start with a trigger. And you can see, I will not set up a complete automation, but I want to show you what could be a trigger. And you can see this here pretty easy. You have plenty of cloud services that can happen. You have this directory modified, which I mentioned a couple of times already. Same with Dropbox. Some email receiving can help. FTP, Java, a schedule is initiated, a system event received. You have plenty, a webhook is triggered. You have plenty of possibilities to start a chain of events. And within this chain, if you want to, and if you have set it up, well, normally most of the times you have FME process that somehow process the data that somewhere is coming from within that automation process. So that is actually really, really not difficult. And once you have set this, you can, go to another action. And this action can be running a workspace. You can merge messaging, log messaging. You can make an HTTP request. You have, again, different cloud opportunities, Java opportunities. You can send an email, upload to Dropbox, whatever. And so you can just build up your chain very, very nice. A schedule, I will not really show you a schedule. This is so easy. This is just, for you to, to somehow let a workspace start on when whatever you want to have it, especially if it's reoccurring, like every day, every week, once a month, these kind of stuff. Workspaces, we don't need to see that. Server apps, it's pretty nice. Let's show you from two ways. So let's go back to run a workspace. You remember that one? I chose samples, repository, workspace, service. Everything is fine, and we have this advanced section right here that I have not opened yet. I open the panel. We ignore this one. But what we have here, that's pretty nice. If you want to integrate this opportunity to run this workspace in your own application, or to create a very easy standalone application, you have those two opportunities. Create a webhook or to create an FME Server app. So let's create an FME Server app. Webhook system is basically the same, just without the app. So you basically need to name it, of course. You have the repository, you have the workspace, you have the service. So everything is basically exactly as you, if you chose to run the process manually. You see, you have the same parameters. Everything is fine. Customizing is more or less like coloring. We really don't need to do this at this point. Running a logo, these kind of stuff. And you click OK. So what happens now is you get an URL. I have everything on localhost. So of course, normally that would be a kind of, real URL, which is basically, you have the opportunity to copy right here. I copy the URL now, and I will open an incognito window of my browser and will copy, paste that one in. And what you see now is basically the same opportunities for users to select as we have before, right? You can change everything you want to. It's the same, but maybe you have recognized it. There was no security authentication at this point. So it's a very easy way to create an easy standalone app to provide to kind of outsiders that don't want to authorize or cannot authorize themselves against the FME server and should not do anything else on FME server but running this process. So that is pretty cool, but it's also, that's basically what you get. You get this kind of app. You can change colors, do some, logo work or whatever. But basically, that is it. You don't have a map. You don't have additional functionalities that you can add at this point. So it's easy, but it's really on the spot, let's say. Okay. So let's check right here. I can see the Workspace app named example. I just made that. What you can do is basically you can view it. And you can change expiration. So it's basically a token was created automatically, I think for 10 years. But you can, oh no, it's the same day, sorry. You can, yeah, make it available as long as you want to. Or you can basically, delete it or disable it, whatever. So very, very easy handling, at least what I think. So that would be it basically for the products of FME, FME Desktop, FME Server, very brief introduction. So let's go into some examples. And basically let's see what we have done with FME, and well, time-wise, we see I have plenty of examples left. So let's just basically see how fast we go. So the first example I want to show you, I called it the Netzplan. The reason why I called it this is because it's called der Netzplan in German. And that is basically a pretty new service from Stadtwerke Münster. And it's basically a real-time displaying of bus positions in Münster. So the FME Server is basically a pretty central part of that process. It's basically getting the data from the open API of Stadtwerke Münster. It's processing the data, it's reformatting the data, and it's then again making it available for displaying on the other side of the process. And then if you go to Netzplan Münster, you see it right there. This is the architecture. I will go there pretty briefly, just briefly, because actually my colleague Dennis Wilhelm will do a tech talk tomorrow noon. I'm not sure when exactly, but he will do a tech talk on this project. He has done this project mainly, and he can explain you in pretty detailed level what happened. This is just, a brief architecture picture. You have the data from Stadtwerke. All the data is read in by a process on FME Server. The data is then enriched on by GTF real-time data and Amazon services. It's using WebSocket technology, REST API, REST services. And at the end of the day, it's a JSON that is provided back, and the people from Stadtwerke Münster basically create the web application of the Netzplan out of this. So that's a pretty cool example on how FME Server can process data from one, even real-time data like live data into display. So that's basically how it looks. We have done actually GTFS, so the bus plans to Google Maps. We have done that a couple of years ago already. So if you go to Google Maps, you go and you arrive in Münster and you want to know how to get from A to B, you see the public transport possibilities. That is because of the GTFS. But since a few days, or well, weeks, I think it's 2 weeks something, you see basically also a delay, or when it's coming. You can see live positioning, all these kind of stuff. So that's pretty new. Let's have a quick look on this. Sorry, wrong window. Pretty nice. Okay. So that's basically what's happening at this point in Münster. Sometimes you see we have some problems that the buses are not really on the road. But anyhow, you have a live tracking of the buses, even though the coloring is already telling you something. If it's green, it's on time. If it's orange, it's on time with a delay of a max of 3 minutes. And if it's red, it's basically more than 3 minutes delay for this bus. So you get every information you want to have right here. And again, this is a reoccurring FME process that is putting the points to every bus, and then the application is, you know, making it looking nice. So yeah, again, if you want to have more information on this example, please join Dennis' session tomorrow, the Tech Talk, where he will explain a lot more on the API side of things, and can give you way more insights of this project. All right, before I go to the next examples, I'm sorry, but I need to go back to some kind of products which are called map apps, and an add-on to map apps which is called map apps ETL, but it's already going to the same direction. So I just want to make sure that you guys know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about map apps or map apps ETL. So therefore it's fairly quick. Map apps is another software component of Conterra. We developed it ourselves, and it's basically a mapping component that is pretty much individual and user-centered. So it's the app system, right? So you can create out of plenty of well, pre-programmed, pre-coded snippets. You can create your own app fairly easy. Again, not too much coding. It's fairly efficient. It's already mature. We are doing it for quite some time already. You see some kind of example screens on the right side. And to empower map apps, we basically we created map apps ETL, and that is basically a direct connection to your FME server. So if you have FME server and map apps, you can basically really combine the possibilities of a very, very nice software and FME server, all the power that you have right here. What you can do is you can make a file upload, you can make a file download. You can also, you know, select a rectangle to download data, all these kind of visual opportunities you can do right here. You can do real time. I will show you this. And you can do all kind of information, or all the things that you can do with FME server. You can visualize through map apps. You can do it with other applications as well, but it's very easy to do it with map apps because we have a pre-configuration to get the communication going between those two products. Yeah, so that is a very short displaying of the process, but I would like to show you kind of live. So let's take this. These are just demonstrations. I will just show you quickly that you get a visual idea of what I'm talking about. This is basically an app that was done where's a workspace behind it that reads out the car park information in Münster Central. So basically what is happening right now, on a regular basis, the process is contacting a website where you can get all the information on the car parks in Münster live information, and is displaying the car parks right here. And if you select one of those car parks, it's taken some time, sorry for that, you will get live information on the situation for this car park, and it's changing constantly based on the web information it is getting. So at this time you don't get anything else. You cannot download something, you cannot upload something, but you can very easy get information. But it is very slow. I'm working on a remote machine. It's probably because of this. Okay, there you go. Right. So the car park at the theater is free at this point, and you can get your information right here. So that's a very, very easy example how Map Apps and FME Server works in the background. Slightly more tricky an example is basically a kind of quality assurance example. You have the map as a background, and you have the opportunity of a file upload. So basically what you're getting offered is basically you can run your own data to a quality assurance process that is lying on FME Server. So if I do this, I have prepared something right here. So let's take the KML. You can just, drag and drop. It's recognizing what I have done, and I just start transformation. So should have done this before. It's really, I'm sorry, it's really slow, probably because of my machine. So what we see here is we have the upload report, which is telling us it's well, we have a small amount of invalid geometry. Normally it should be, yeah, there should be numbers behind it, but again, yeah, I would love to put it to the left to show you some more. Okay, even if that is just kind of loading, you see right immediately here all the red lines are basically invalid data, and in this case it's just invalid geometry. That's basically how the workspace is set up, but it's very easy for you for maybe your colleagues to check your own data. So that's pretty handy. I'm sorry, it should, okay, you have 926 valid and 38 invalid. Well, it's lines, so streets, lines to do so. And last but not least, again, we are talking about quality assurance. It's again an upload possibility. So I select this. This is, I think it's pretty cool because you get a complete zip file, again, drag and drop. And now your file is analyzed. And first of all, we had that before. You're getting displayed what's in the data. So that is already a process in the background. That is basically spatial ETL, or well, FME server. It's basically looking and checking what is in there. And you see here we have no coordinate system within that shapefile. So in this case, it's called invalid. And you can I will not display it right now, as we have seen. We have some performance issues, but you probably know what I want to show you. So pretty easy. That is Map Apps as a product, and the combination with Map Apps ETL and FME Server. So by this very short kind of examples, I will give you More examples, what we have done with FME Server and data processing and apps. We have done, I call this orientation at a conference before the pandemic. What I mean is basically a conference where you are, you know, and maybe you are looking for something or looking for a room. We had that last year in Bonn, in the old Bundestag, very nice location. And we created an interactive floor plan where we basically took geometry from the WCC and put information from the agenda to it, right? So basically, we wanted to answer questions like, where's a certain room, Saal Bonn, which presentation is coming up in the room I am in. So we always had the actual talk and the next talk in the app. We had, of course, the summary of the talk, but also where can I get a cup of coffee? Where can I grab something to eat? You know, where can I go to the loo? I don't know. All these kind of stuff. And our requirements have been fairly easy. If you want to use it during a conference, it has to be responsive. You have to use it on your mobile. We wanted to reuse it for our next event. Well, basically there was no next event because of Corona, but anyhow, we wanted to add in all the well, information that we think is needful. If we changed something in the agenda, we wanted to have it being displayed automatically, you know. So we connected to the agenda database and to the FME Days app. And we wanted, of course, to use Contera solution patterns. So what we used were map apps, ArcGIS Enterprise, and of course FME Technologie to get that data. And that is, again, the infrastructure or architecture that we use. So we have the AutoCAD file from the WCC. We used the API from the FME Days app. That's basically, we published our app via a website, and they had an API which we kind of connected. We brought the information together on the FME server. We changed the style of the information to get what we needed. Send it into ArcGIS or an ArcSDE database, and then we created a service and displayed it in map apps, basically. So that's what happened, and I think that's a pretty nice example of how this can work. How to process data in FME, how to, you know, again, communicate with APIs, how to, in real time, react to changes in the agenda. We had it, I think, every 5 minutes. We had it had a rerun. So in case something changed on short notice, we could actually see that. Okay, next example. Now it's, you know, going on and on and on. Yeah, it's been a while already. I'm talking to you for more than an hour already. So maybe you're getting hungry, and that's why I wanted to show you how to track down a food truck. And basically, the food truck that is just in front of our office on certain times. Basically, the customer is the greenhouse company. They are providing salads. Which is very good. I really like them, and it's always the car is always honking when it arrives. It's super loud, and before we started with this app, we just had a brief knowledge on when is the truck arriving, and you know, 10 minutes beforehand you already had long queues outside, and then maybe it took 10 minutes more for the truck to come to our parking spot. So we decided that's a good opportunity to create a new app. So what we wanted to have is an email service and a map service to see where's the food truck and when is the food truck at my location. So we created an Android app that is basically collecting the spatial information or the location information from a mobile device that is inside the truck, and is preparing a JSON fragment. We identified stop times or stops and times, at least we tried to configure the times, and we created geofences around them, right? So certain polygon around each stop. Once we had done this, we wanted to have a registration, of course, and we started tracking the food truck position. And all the time it was, the position was inside a geofence. We were able, or we are able to basically send out an email. So that is basically the architecture. We are using the live position, and we're getting this from via WebSocket service with FME Server. So it's a permanent connection to the mobile device within the car. So we really have live tracking of the food truck. We got data from the geofences. We digitized them ourselves. We got data from hungry people because they were standing there and waiting. And then we created an email service and a map app service. So basically, what we got was a responsive application with map apps where you can see you see the symbol for the bus and you see all the stops. When you register yourself, you are asked to which email you want to have sent the information. And of course, we had a rollout to the customer. And yeah, well, ever since we are using this app to know when the food truck is coming to our office. So I can show you this one as well. Let me quickly stop the presentation. All right, so that's how it looks like right now. Unfortunately, my talk is after lunch break, so it's not driving around here anymore. I think let's zoom out a little bit. Maybe we can find him. Not really. So these are all the spots. He's doing plenty of routes now, having more than one car. So if you want to register, let's go to our parking spot, which is this one. What you can do once you select your stop, you will get a brief estimate when the food truck will be there. What you can choose is when you get your email notification. Do you get it when the truck is right here, or do you get it when the truck is leaving the station or the spot before your spot? Then you get in your email. Except, of course, that we get the information from you, register, and that is basically it. And after that, you get your email pretty quick. Once the food truck is kind of in your range. So that was a pretty, or is still working. It's still used. And getting you more and more information, useful information via, again, APIs, WebSocket service. So it's a slightly different way of communicating with a device, as it's permanent. It's a permanent communication. Whether all the other examples I showed you are like scheduled communication every 10 minutes, every 20 minutes, once an hour, whatever. Okay, I think I am pretty much done. I don't want to, well, I can show you the slide, but I will not show you the live stream. We already have this without a map as services as a kind of solution as a service. It's called data services, but time-wise, I will not go into this in too much detail. Yeah, I'm wondering if there are any questions, because I'm basically done. Mathis, you want to take over?
Thank you, Marcel. Pretty impressive to see what the FME and the FME server in particular can drive. I need that link to the Greenhouse app.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
I knew the one before for the Keukenbrink wagon, but this one looks really mature and cool. Nice, very cool work. So, are there any questions from the participants? Raise your hands, use the chat. In any case, we'll leave the session open in the next 7 minutes. If you're having some technical issues, we will still see that in the next minutes. I would have one question. First of all, information on the talk from Dennis Wilhelm. Tomorrow it will be around 12:20 in the lightning talk session. So just before the lunch break. Be sure to join that session, because there are also other very important and nice topics covered in, I think, 5 to 10 minutes lightning talks, flash talks. Pretty cool. And my questions on FME server. Is there a roadmap, or maybe it's already supported for this new OGC OGC feature API features? Do you know about that?
I have to admit that I'm not too sure. That's pretty. I'm sure Dennis could answer it.
Okay, yeah.
I have to admit I cannot answer this one.
Yeah, it's pretty new, and I saw it being discussed at the recent Inspire conference last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was curious about it. All right, so much from our side. Thanks again, and talk to you later.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.